Karen Mitchell, a 42-year-old real estate agent from Scottsdale, Arizona, walked into Judge Judy's courtroom with a demeanor that blended manufactured confidence with barely concealed desperation, her Chanel handbag clutched like a shield, her lawyer trailing 2 steps behind with the expression of a man who'd already calculated his escape route. The courtroom buzzed with an undercurrent of anticipation, a palpable electricity that seemed to hum through the air because everyone present could sense it. This wasn't going to be an ordinary case. This was going to be a massacre. Before we dive into this incredible case, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I love seeing where my viewers are around the world. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss more unbelievable cases like this one. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. Judge Judy Sheindlin sat elevated behind her bench, her reading glasses perched on her nose, her eyes scanning the case file with the sharp precision of a surgeon examining an X-ray that revealed something terminally stupid. Her bailiff, Petrie Hawkinsbird, stood at attention, his expression neutral, but his eyes betraying the slightest hint of second-hand embarrassment for what was about to unfold. Across from Karen stood Marcus Chun, a 28-year-old graphic designer who looked more bewildered than concerned, clutching a manila folder of evidence and clearly wondering why he'd been dragged into what could only be described as a manufactured crisis. This was no ordinary small claims case. This was a carefully constructed delusion dressed up as legitimate grievance, and Karen had brought her secret weapon. Attorney David Hoffman, a freshly minted lawyer in a suit that cost more than his monthly student loan payment, stood beside her with a leather portfolio and the kind of rehearsed confidence that crumbles the moment it faces actual scrutiny. Karen was suing Marcus for $8,000, claiming his online review of her real estate services had destroyed her reputation, caused her severe emotional distress, and according to the complaint she typed herself in all capital letters, constituted defamation, slander, and intentional infliction of emotional harm. But here's what Karen didn't know. Here's the secret that would unravel in the most spectacular fashion over the next 16 minutes. Marcus's review wasn't just honest. It was provably documentation-backed, screenshot-verified truth. And Karen, in her infinite wisdom, had brought printed evidence to court that would become the murder weapon in her own legal suicide. She'd handed Judge Judy the rope, tied the noose herself, and was about to ask the judge to pull the lever. Judge Judy closed the case file with a sound that echoed through the silent courtroom like a gunshot. She removed her glasses slowly, deliberately, the way a gunslinger removes their hat before a duel. Her eyes locked onto Karen with the intensity of someone who'd seen this exact brand of entitlement walk through her doors 1,000 times before and had never, not once, let it walk out victorious. The bailiff shifted his weight almost imperceptibly, a tell that those familiar with this courtroom recognized immediately. Something big was coming. Karen smoothed her blazer, cleared her throat, and prepared to deliver the opening statement she'd practiced 17 times in her bathroom mirror, each performance more dramatic than the last. Her lawyer flipped open his portfolio with a theatrical flourish that would have impressed exactly no one, revealing color-coded tabs and highlighted passages of case law he'd frantically Googled the night before. Marcus stood quietly, his folder unopened, because the truth doesn't need rehearsal. The cameras rolled. The gallery leaned forward, and Judge Judy's expression shifted into that particular configuration of judicial patience and predatory anticipation that had made her a legend. This was the calm before the storm, the silence before the explosion, the final breath before Karen Mitchell's carefully constructed reality came crashing down around her designer shoes. She thought bringing a lawyer would intimidate Judge Judy into taking her seriously. She thought legal representation was her trump card, her guarantee of legitimacy. She had absolutely no idea that in approximately 14 minutes, her lawyer would be the one apologizing to the court, and she would be standing in that very spot, speechless, defeated, and owing Marcus Chun money she never intended to pay. But before we watch this beautiful disaster unfold, before we see Judge Judy dismantle this case with the precision of a master craftsman and the mercy of a honey badger, if you love watching entitled people get the reality check they desperately need, Smash that like button right now and subscribe so you never miss another moment of courtroom justice. Hit that notification bell, because trust me, you're going to want to see every second of what happens next. This isn't just a loss. This is a legendary destruction, and it starts the moment Judge Judy opens her mouth. The courtroom fell into that particular silence unique to Judge Judy's domain, the kind that preceded either surgical precision or thermonuclear explosion. And based on the way Judge Judy was looking at Karen's 3-inch thick binder of grievances, this was going to be both. Karen's voice took on that unmistakable tone, the one that suggested she'd not only practiced this speech, but had recorded it, played it back, and convinced herself she sounded like a victim of unthinkable injustice, rather than what she actually was, a woman who couldn't handle one honest review. She explained, with theatrical hand gestures and manufacture motion, that Marcus Chun had left a review on Yelp calling her unprofessional, stating she'd shown up 40 minutes late to an appointment, pressured him to make an offer on a property he didn't want, and then harassed him with phone calls when he chose a different agent. According to Karen, this review had single-handedly destroyed her thriving career, caused her anxiety so severe she needed therapy, and damaged her standing in the real estate community to the tune of $8,000. Her lawyer, David Hoffman, cleared his throat and attempted to add legal weight to the absurdity. "Your Honor," he began, his voice carrying the false confidence of someone reading from a script, "my client's reputation is her livelihood. This review has caused quantifiable harm. We have documentation of lost clients, medical bills for therapy sessions, and expert testimony about the psychological impact of online defamation." He gestured to Karen's binder, as if it contained the secrets of the universe, rather than what it actually held. Printed screenshots of her own Facebook posts complaining about the review and a letter from her life coach. Judge Judy leaned back in her chair, her fingers steepled, her expression the judicial equivalent of "Are you kidding me right now?" She'd let Karen finish her opening statement without interruption, a professional courtesy that was about to expire with extreme prejudice. Marcus stood quietly, occasionally glancing at Karen with the bewildered expression of someone watching a person dig their own grave with a diamond-encrusted shovel. Karen continued, her voice rising with each sentence. "He called me unprofessional, Judge. He said I was pushy. He told people I was late. Do you know what that does to someone in my industry? Do you know how hard I've worked to build my reputation?" She dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, though no actual tears appeared, a performance so rehearsed it could have sold out community theater. Her lawyer nodded solemnly beside her, adding, "Your Honor, the defendant's words were not only false, but malicious. We're prepared to prove that this review was written with the intent to harm my client's business." Judge Judy's eyebrow raised exactly 1 millimeter, a movement so subtle yet so devastating that the bailiff actually smiled. She picked up the case file, flipped to the second page, and her lips pressed together in that way that everyone who'd ever watched her show knew meant someone was about to get destroyed. The courtroom held its breath, because Judge Judy had just found something, and whatever it was, Karen wasn't going to like it. Judge Judy removed her glasses with the deliberate precision of someone loading a weapon. "Let me understand this," she began, her voice steady, but carrying an edge sharp enough to split atoms. "You're suing this young man for $8,000 because he left a review saying you were late, pushy, and unprofessional. Is that correct?" Karen straightened her shoulders, emboldened by her lawyer's presence. "Yes, Your Honor. He lied about me publicly and ruined my career." Judge Judy's expression didn't change, but something shifted in her eyes, something dangerous. "So his review is a lie?" Judge Judy asked, her tone deceptively casual. "Completely false," Karen insisted, her voice gaining strength. "I was never late. I never pressured him. Everything he wrote was designed to hurt me." The courtroom fell into that particular silence, unique to moments before disaster. Judge Judy leaned forward, and her voice dropped to that deadly calm that made seasoned attorneys nervous. "Then explain to me, Ms. Mitchell, why you sent Mr. Chin a text message the day before his appointment saying, and I quote, 'running behind this morning, might be 30 to 40 minutes late. Hope that's okay.'" The color drained from Karen's face so fast it looked like someone had pulled a plug. Her mouth opened, then closed, then opened again, but no sound came out. Her lawyer's head snapped toward her, his expression transitioning from confident to horrified in real time. Judge Judy held up a printed text message, her eyes never leaving Karen's face. "This is from your phone number, Ms. Mitchell. Time stamped. Date stamped. And it directly contradicts what you just told me under oath." The bailiff's shoulders shook slightly with suppressed laughter. Marcus smiled for the first time since entering the courtroom. And Karen realized, far too late, that she'd just walked into a trap of her own making. Karen's carefully constructed facade began to crack like cheap porcelain under pressure. That text was taken out of context, she stammered, her voice losing its earlier conviction. "I meant I might be late leaving my previous appointment, not that I was actually going to be late to his." Judge Judy's expression could have frozen lava. "Ms. Mitchell, the text says you'll be 30 to 40 minutes late. Mr. Chen's appointment was at 2 o'clock. You arrived at 2:43. That's 43 minutes late. Where exactly is the context I'm missing?" Karen's lawyer attempted damage control, his voice noticeably less confident than 60 seconds ago. "Your Honor, my client may have been mistaken about the specific timeline, but that doesn't change the fact that the review contained other defamatory statements about her being pushy and unprofessional." Judge Judy's gaze shifted to the lawyer with the intensity of a predator identifying easier prey. "Counsel, I suggest you stop talking before you make this worse for yourself." She turned back to Karen. "Let's discuss pushy. Mr. Chun, what happened after you told Ms. Mitchell you weren't interested in making an offer?" Marcus stepped forward, his voice calm and measured. "She called me 6 times in 2 days, Your Honor. When I didn't answer, she left voicemails saying I was making a mistake, that I'd regret passing on the property, and that I clearly didn't understand the market. When I finally texted her that I'd chosen another agent, she responded that I was unprofessional and would never find a decent property with my attitude." Karen's face flushed crimson. "That's not what happened. He's twisting everything. I was just being persistent, which is literally my job." Judge Judy picked up another document from Marcus's folder, her reading glasses back on. "Is this your phone number, Ms. Mitchell?" She held up printed phone records showing 6 outgoing calls to Marcus's number over 48 hours, each lasting between 2 and 4 minutes. Karen's mouth opened, but no words emerged. Judge Judy continued, "And is this your text message saying, quote, 'You're making a huge mistake, Marcus. Don't come crying to me when you overpay for a dump because your new agent doesn't know what they're doing?'" The courtroom was dead silent except for the sound of Karen's lawyer quietly flipping through his portfolio, as if searching for an escape clause in reality itself. "But that's not harassment," Karen protested weakly. "I was giving professional advice." Judge Judy removed her glasses again, slowly, deliberately. 6 calls in 2 days to someone who stopped responding is not professional advice, Ms. Mitchell. It's harassment. And telling a former client they'll regret not using your services is not helpful. It's vindictive. The bailiff nodded almost imperceptibly. Marcus remained silent, letting the evidence speak for itself. And Karen's lawyer looked like a man who desperately wished he'd gone into tax law instead. Karen's composure shattered completely, her voice rising to a pitch that made the court reporter wince. "This is ridiculous. You're twisting everything to make me look bad. I'm the victim here. Marcus wrote that review to destroy me because he was angry I wouldn't lower my commission." Judge Judy's expression shifted from judicial patience to pure disbelief. "So now the story changes. First you were never late, except you were. Then you weren't pushy, except you called him 6 times. And now he wrote the review because of your commission, which you never mentioned in your complaint." Karen's hands trembled as she gripped the plaintiff's table. "I'm just trying to make a living, Your Honor. Why is everyone attacking me? I came here for justice, and you're treating me like I'm the bad guy." Her voice cracked with manufactured emotion. "I have rights. That review destroyed my business." Judge Judy leaned forward, her voice dropping to that icy calm that had made her legendary. "You have the right to file a lawsuit. You do not have the right to lie in my courtroom. And you certainly don't have the right to waste everyone's time with a case built on falsehoods, contradictions, and convenient memory loss. Karen's lawyer, sensing the ship wasn't just sinking, but actively on fire, took a visible step backward, literally distancing himself from his client. "Your Honor," he began weakly, "perhaps we could take a moment to review the documentation." Judge Judy's gaze snapped to him like a laser sight. "Counselor, the documentation is what's destroying your case. Every piece of evidence you brought proves the defendant was telling the truth. If I were you, I'd be questioning why your client fed you a completely different story than what actually happened." The lawyer's face went pale as realization dawned. He looked at Karen with the expression of someone who just discovered they'd been lied to extensively. Karen ignored him, her attention fixed on Judge Judy. "I want to appeal this," she declared, her voice shrill. "This isn't fair. You're biased. You haven't even heard all my evidence." She gestured frantically at her 3-inch binder. "I have testimonials from other clients. I have my therapy bills. I have proof that my income dropped." Judge Judy's patience, already stretched thinner than tissue paper, finally snapped. "Ms. Mitchell, I don't care if you have a signed letter from the Pope. Your case is built on lies that you told under oath. The review Mr. Chin wrote was accurate. You were late. You were pushy. You did harass him. And now you're wasting my time, his time, and your lawyer's time with this manufactured grievance." Bailiff Bird's expression remained professional, but those who knew him could see the slightest smile tugging at his lips. The gallery was silent, collectively holding their breath for what everyone knew was coming. Karen stood frozen, her face cycling through shock, rage, and desperate panic. And Judge Judy hadn't even delivered her judgment yet. Judge Judy straightened her papers with the finality of someone closing a book they never wanted to read in the first place. She removed her glasses, set them deliberately on the bench, and looked directly at Karen with an expression that had made grown men reconsider their entire life trajectory. "Ms. Mitchell, I've listened to your case. I've reviewed your so-called evidence. I've watched you contradict yourself repeatedly and lie under oath. And I've come to a very simple conclusion." The courtroom held its collective breath. Even the camera operators seemed to freeze. "Your case is dismissed." Judge Judy's voice cut through the silence like a guillotine blade. "Not only are you getting nothing, but I'm awarding the defendant $1,200 for his time, his travel expenses, and having to endure this absolutely frivolous lawsuit that should never have seen the inside of a courtroom." Karen's face went through a remarkable transformation, shock giving way to disbelief, then igniting into pure rage. "What? You can't do that. He ruined my life." Judge Judy's hand came down flat on the bench, the sound like a thunderclap. "Yes, I can. And I just did. Furthermore, Ms. Mitchell, let me give you some advice that's worth considerably more than the $8,000 you were chasing. The world does not revolve around your feelings. A negative review is not a lawsuit waiting to happen. And showing up late, harassing potential clients, and then lying about it in court is not how you build a career. It's how you destroy one." Karen's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Her lawyer stood frozen, his professional dignity hanging by a thread, his eyes fixed on the floor as if willing it to open and swallow him whole. Judge Judy wasn't finished. "When you walk into my courtroom with manufactured evidence and a story that changes every time you're caught in a lie, you insult this court, you waste everyone's time, and you prove exactly what Mr. Chin said in his review. You are unprofessional." The bailiff coughed quietly to cover what might have been a laugh. Marcus remained composed, though relief was written clearly across his face. Karen's hands balled into fists, her entire body rigid with impotent fury. "And counselor," Judge Judy turned her attention to the lawyer, who visibly flinched. "Next time a client walks into your office with a case like this, I suggest you do your due diligence before filing. Because what happened here today isn't just a loss. It's a waste of the court's resources and a stain on your professional judgment." The lawyer nodded quickly, his face burning red. "Yes, Your Honor. I apologize to the court." Judge Judy picked up her gavel, her eyes sweeping across the courtroom one final time. Case dismissed. Judgment for the defendant. We're done here. The gavel came down with a crack that echoed like a final verdict on Karen's entire worldview, and just like that, it was over. The courtroom erupted the moment Judge Judy's gavel hit the bench. Applause rippled through the gallery, quickly stifled by the bailiff's professional glare, though the smiles remained plastered on every face. Marcus Chen's expression transformed from cautious hope to genuine relief, his shoulders dropping as if a physical weight had been lifted. He clutched his folder of evidence, the folder he barely needed to open because Karen had destroyed her own case more effectively than any defendant ever could. Across from him, Karen stood completely motionless, her face frozen in an expression that combined shock, rage, and the dawning realization that she'd just been humiliated on national television. Karen's lawyer began gathering his papers with the frantic energy of someone trying to escape a crime scene. His leather portfolio, which had seemed so impressive 20 minutes ago, now looked like a prop from a failed performance. He avoided eye contact with everyone, especially Karen, whose glare could have melted steel. As Karen turned to leave, her designer heels clicking sharply against the courtroom floor, she muttered just loud enough for the microphones to catch, "This is absolutely ridiculous. Unbelievable." The bailiff's eyebrow raised slightly, but he said nothing, because nothing needed to be said. The evidence had spoken. Judge Judy had spoken. And Karen had lost spectacularly. The hallway outside the courtroom became a battlefield of its own. The camera crew, sensing gold, approached Karen for the traditional post-judgment interview. Her face was flushed, her carefully applied makeup showing stress cracks around her eyes. "This was a setup from the beginning," she declared, her voice shaking with barely controlled fury. "Judge Judy didn't even listen to my side. She just believed him because he's younger and brought fake evidence." The camera captured every word, every gesture, every moment of Karen doubling down on her delusion rather than accepting reality. Meanwhile, Marcus gave his interview with calm dignity that made the contrast even more striking. "I just wanted this to end," he said simply, his voice steady. "I left an honest review about my experience. I never expected to get sued for telling the truth. I'm grateful Judge Judy saw through all the lies and actually looked at the facts." When asked if he felt vindicated, Marcus smiled slightly. "I feel relieved. Hopefully now Ms. Mitchell will leave me alone and let me move on with my life." His maturity and composure made Karen's hallway meltdown look even more unhinged by comparison. Within hours, the clips went viral. Social media platforms exploded with reactions. Judge Judy destroyed that Karen in under 20 minutes with 3 fire emojis. That lawyer knew he messed up the second Judge Judy pulled out those text messages, crying laughing face. "Imagine paying a lawyer to watch you lose this badly," skull emoji. The comments section became a digital courtroom of public opinion, and the verdict was unanimous. Karen had become the cautionary tale, the example of what happens when entitlement meets accountability. 3 days later, Karen's 1-star review of her lawyer appeared on Google, blaming him for the loss, conveniently omitting that she'd lied to him about every detail of the case. The lawyer, to his credit, never responded publicly, though legal circles buzzed with the story of the client who'd committed perjury so casually she didn't even realize she was doing it. The lesson burned itself into internet history with the permanence of digital infamy. You cannot lawyer your way out of the truth. You cannot litigate reality into submission. And no amount of designer clothing, rehearsed tears, or manufactured outrage can save you when the evidence proves you're lying. Judge Judy's courtroom had served as the great equalizer once again, where entitlement met consequences and lost badly. Karen had walked in with confidence, a legal representative, and $8,000 in demands. She walked out owing money, her reputation in tatters, and a viral video that would follow her forever. She'd brought her lawyer thinking it would intimidate Judge Judy into taking her seriously. Instead, she provided the most entertaining courtroom destruction of the year, proving that sometimes the biggest weapon in your arsenal is knowing when not to file a lawsuit in the first place. For everyone watching, both in that courtroom and on screens around the world, the message was crystal clear. Don't manufacture problems where none exist. Don't lie under oath. Don't waste the court's time with frivolous lawsuits built on wounded ego rather than actual harm. And most importantly, don't ever walk into Judge Judy's courtroom unprepared for her to find the truth, because she will find it, she will expose it, and she will make sure everyone remembers what happens when entitlement collides with justice. If this courtroom takedown made your day, if you loved watching Karen get exactly what she deserved, smash that like button so hard Judge Judy would be proud. Subscribe right now, because we've got more entitled people getting reality checks coming your way, and trust me, you don't want to miss a single moment. Hit that notification bell, because karma is real, justice is beautiful, and there are 1,000 more Karens out there learning the hard way that the truth always wins. Drop a comment below, and tell me what was your favorite moment from this case. Was it the text message reveal, the lawyers slowly backing away, or Judge Judy's final speech that left Karen speechless? Let me know, and remember, in Judge Judy's courtroom and in life, honesty isn't just the best policy. It's the only one that survives. Don't be a Karen, folks. The internet never forgets, and Judge Judy never loses. See you in the next one, where justice is served and entitled people learn lessons they should have learned in kindergarten.